people who are non-members here. I think Sue said she will follow up with you later today. So expect an email from her. We've got three, I'm very grateful for our three speakers today, or three experts I'm going to call you now, because it's Ask the Expert. The plan is to do 10 minutes from each one, which I will keep mindful of the time. Then after each speaker, we'll have some opportunity for some questions, which again, I will keep an eye on the time, and then we'll go on to the next speaker. So that's sort of the flow of this morning's meeting. If you want to put your company details in the chat box as well, then feel free to use this as an opportunity if you want to get in touch with other people in this group. And also, I don't know if you can see it yet, but it should be that our three speakers have put their, have you put your details in the, yeah, Carolyn has.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have. I don't know, I'm assuming you can read that in the history of the chat, so you can actually see that Gareth, Alison and Carolyn have already put their details in the chat if you wish to get in contact with them as well. All right, I'm going to kick straight off. We're going over to Gareth first, who's going to introduce himself and then take you through his presentation. Thanks, Gareth.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Claire. Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting me along to talk about the Business Hothouse programme that the University of Chichester is running in partnership with 6 other delivery partners. I'm going to hopefully do a screen share and bring up my PowerPoint, which we will go through, which has all the details of the programme. So it's 10 minutes, so it'll be a quick talk through what I'm doing. I mean, I believe there's a few minutes of Q&A afterwards, and I know Claire will be keeping me on a very tight rein with regards to all of that. So hopefully you should now see my slide deck. I can't see any of you guys for some reason. Can you all see my slides?
No, not yet.
A minute ago. I did just till then.
I do apologise.
It says you're not, I don't think you're sharing the screen, are you? You're definitely sharing the screen. Because it doesn't say that Gareth is sharing the screen.
Sorry about this, it worked fine just now.
There we go. It's coming. It's kicking in now.
Wrong thing though.
There we go.
Is that it?
Perfect.
There we are. That's it.
Brilliant.
Okay. Hi everyone. Sorry about the slight technical glitch there. So welcome to my talk around the Business Hothouse. The Business Hothouse is a European Union ERDF funded programme of business support to a whole range of businesses and pre-start entrepreneurs across the whole of the Coast to Capital region. The whole programme's got a value of about £11 million, of which £5.5 million of that has come from the EU. So it's a very comprehensive programme, and I will talk you through all the different strands and how it all works. So there are 6 key strands of support that are available to businesses. We've got productivity and growth, access to finance, monetisation of innovation, leadership and management development, startup support, and there is a very comprehensive grant fund that is available to SME businesses. It is a conglomeration of 7 expert delivery partners. So there's us, the University of Chichester. We're delivering leadership and management development as well as business startup support. We've got the Sussex Innovation Centre, which is part of Sussex University. As the name suggests, they're focusing on innovation along with productivity and growth. Got an organisation called YTKO who work from a brand called Outset Finance and Get Set for Growth. They're focusing on the access to finance strand of the programme. We've got WSX Enterprise, who are again working on the access to finance strand of the programme. And both YTKO and WSX Enterprise, you might not have heard of them, but they have done a huge amount of work up in London and Dorset and down in the West Country. They're both those organisations run the Dorset Growth Hub, so the same as Coast Capital run our Growth Hub here in Coast Capital. They run the one down in Dorset. We've got Brighton Hove City Council, who are running and managing the Grant Fund programme. The Prince's Trust, I'm sure we've all heard of, they're delivering business startup and growth and leadership and management support, but to their niche target market of young people aged 18 to 30. And then we've got eDeal, who's the Eastbourne District Enterprise Agency Limited, who are focusing their delivery on the Lewis, so the sort of southern eastern part of the coast capital, LEP. So what I'm going to do is talk you through each of the 6 different strands and just explain a little bit more about what you might be able to expect from them. So I'm sure that everybody on the call here knows that productivity in the UK is lagging behind a lot of the other organisations across the EU and across the OECD. And this is something that is continuously trying to be addressed by the government and coast capital, particularly in this region. So we've got a strand which focuses around productivity and growth, which is delivered by the Sussex Innovation Centre, who have supported a whole range of businesses all the way through to being listed up onto the AIMS market. So they, although it says workshops and one-to-one support, at the moment it's very bespoke one-to-one support because of how the COVID challenges have changed our delivery. So what they're focusing on is working with entrepreneurs around aspirations for growth, getting them business models for growth, market research, evolving brands and compelling stories, and the sales process of making sales. Their delivery works on the basis of you can work with one of their specialist advisors that are based at the Sussex Innovation Centre of 12 hours of support around each of those different aspects of developing and growing your business. So it's very much about creating that growth and working with you in specific areas to achieve that growth. So it might be that you want to be looking at developing a growth business model, carrying out the market research so you know where to grow your business, and also, as we know, without selling and marketing, you can't really achieve growth in your business. So that's the productivity and growth strand. We've got a monetization of innovation strand. So this is about organisations that may already have developed an idea and are looking to move it on to the next stage. So it's not about coming up with an idea and developing it into a service or product. It's about moving it on to the next stage from there. So within this, again, it's they're about to launch this strand of their support, and it's working on a very similar basis of intensive one-to-one bespoke support with entrepreneurs. And it's around building products that customers crave. So it's a lot of it will be about understanding customers, what their needs are, how you're helping them to get the job done, overcome their problems, and then about the exploitation of those new products and those new ideas. What it won't do is necessarily help you work with, say, university-based organisations to carry out the research to test out the feasibility of an idea. They do have, if you want to do something along those lines, they do have other programs that they can support you with. Access to finance, again, this is something that pretty much every SME survey that is carried out cite as one of the challenges that they have in relation to creating growth in their business. I think we're all aware that there is a huge amount of grants at the moment, and has been for the last sort of 4 or 5 months. So the marketplace is becoming a little bit interesting with what can be accessed, what can't be accessed, what you need to go through to be able to access the funding. And Outset Finance, part of YTKO and WSX Enterprise, are there to guide you through all of that grant funding support, as well as looking at other options for raising funding, whether that's around asset finance, whether that's around bank loans, whether that's around how to run a crowdfunding campaign. Along with that, but also make sure your business is fit for raising finance, which is obviously making sure that all your accounts are in a sensible position, so that people will look at them and go, yes, you're okay to raise finance, but you've got business plans in place and how to create those business plans. And I'll also help you with producing and submitting your funding applications on a one-to-one basis. I won't do them for you, but I'll help you review them and fill them out and make sure you follow the guidance that most funding applications come with, just to increase your chances of success. We've had some great results from them working on our grant fund, the Business Hothouse grant fund, of people putting in applications and being able to get through to the grant fund panel to be able to access the funding that's available through the Business Hothouse. We've got startup support. So the startup support is primarily delivered by the University of Chichester based on our 12-hour bootcamp model. Really pleased to say that a member of your Hayward Business Association, Paul Dalabar from Gordian Solutions, is contracting in with us to deliver the business startup support for us. And to date, I think we've successfully worked with about 80 or 90 pre-start entrepreneurs over the first few months of the programme. So again, this was supposed to be a 2-day boot camp, but has now become a series of online seminars. The next one's launch next Tuesday, I believe, isn't it, Paul? On the 9th, Tuesday or Wednesday. And they are based over 6 days because of 2-hour sessions rather than 6-hour full-day sessions. In addition to that, you can then move on to a peer-to-peer work group, again facilitated by Paul, which is a series of bi-weekly get-togethers for those that are serious about actually making their business happen. It says coming up early May, so I do apologise I hadn't updated that slide. It missed the updates, but it will be starting again in the next couple of weeks. So if you are interested in it, do either speak to Paul, or if you know anybody that's interested in it, speak to Paul, or drop me an email on the hothouse@chi.ac.uk. Leadership and management development. Again, sometimes I do wonder how the UK manages to function, but on the league tables, we do demonstrate that we lag behind, again, pretty much every other sort of northern EU country in regards to the investment that entrepreneurs put into their leadership and management development. And there is a well-researched correlation between leadership and management development and knowledge and skill set that relates to an increase in productivity, growth, innovation, and economic growth for the country. There are a huge number of barriers around entrepreneurs investing in leadership and management development. Ones that stem around about not having enough time, not necessarily understanding return on investment, and the impact it can have on their business. So the original plan was to have a series of conference-style events with guest speakers coming along to help break down some of those barriers about investing in leadership and management of an entrepreneur's team. It was going to provide an opportunity to meet all the Coast Capital providers of leadership and management development. So you can sign up to their programs along with networking with other business leaders and other entrepreneurs. Obviously, the COVID challenges have stopped us putting on these conference-style events, and we're just currently discussing with our leadership and management tutors at the university some of the best ways that we could perhaps put that on in the new year.
Just to let you know, you've got about a minute left.
Okay, brilliant. That's fine. I'll talk a little bit quicker. I think it's just the grant fund left to talk about. So the other bit which has been creating a lot of interest in what we, in the Business Hothouse programme, is our Invest for grant fund. So that could be Invest for Growth, Invest for Startup, Invest for Innovation, but it's primarily about growing an established business. So we've got £2.8 million of funding, of which about £1.4 million has already been applied for, and about £250,000 being distributed. It works on a basis of grant and contribution, 40 to 60, and must be linked to growth. Grants are between £2,000 and £170,000. It can be for capital or revenue. There's a range of things that it can be used for. Equally, there's a range of things it can't be used for. So you need to be careful about what you're looking for in your project to be providing. Obviously, there's a big process to go through. There is a lot of paperwork, but at the end of the day, it's free money to help you achieve growth in your business. To get hold of the Business Hothouse programme, these are all the contact details. Come through to us at the university. General inquiries is hothouse@chi.ac.uk. There's all the other delivery partners. We're happy for you to go direct through to them. And we also work closely with the Coast Capital Growth Hub. They're two consultants that work with them up there. And their team that's led by Ryan do pass all the leads through to us. But equally, they can help you find the right support for you, which might not necessarily be about through the Hothouse. So they can help point you in the right direction for what you might need. Obviously, we've got a full social media community. Please do get involved with those. That's where all our stuff gets detailed, and we also have an email marketing list. Let me know if you want to go on that. That's it, Claire.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gareth. Well, I have a ton of questions, but I don't want to ask them all first. Who'd like to kick off with some questions? Anyone? No, is it going to be just me? Well, I will start. Okay, I mean, looking at the startup support, what are the criteria to get on that? What's the cost of the course?
Yeah.
Those are my first questions.
Brilliant. All this support is funded through the EU, the local authorities, so West Sussex County Council, all the districts and boroughs, so Mid Sussex District Council have put funding in towards this programme. So at the point of entry, all the funding, all the support is free of charge.
Wow.
So if you want to come on a startup bootcamp, it won't cost you anything at all. The criteria for the startup bootcamp is that you just need to have an idea for starting up a business. And then Paul will take you through all the different points, but albeit it's only 12 hours, so you're not going to get to anything too far and in depth, but it will be a light touch on all the aspects of starting a business.
And can you actually be up and running with your business now?
You can be up and running with your business now if you want, and still access the startup support, but it is primarily designed for pre-start entrepreneurs. If you're running a business already, pre-start,
okay.
Yeah. If you're already running a business, then you might want to look at accessing other parts of the program, such as the access to finance. Even though you might not be accessing finance, they're still running business planning workshops, which you might find a benefit for you. The Sussex Innovation Centre, looking at working with businesses around growth, what business isn't trying to achieve some element of growth, although they are looking at the ones that tend to be more employing businesses. And the same around with innovation and developing new products and new processes, again, to increase productivity and growth in your business. And that is still all free at point of entry as well.
Okay. Is everything on your website for more details about everything you've highlighted so far? Because I think we're just scratching the surface, I think, of what...
It is, yeah. It's a huge program of support, and all the details are on our website. You'll see it in the bottom corner of that slide. Yeah. So chi.ac.uk/business-hothouse. I appreciate, Paul Dalabar, who's in your association. If you see him at networking events, he works part-time for the business Hothouse.
He's here on the call.
He is indeed, yes. So I'm sure if you're seeing him in person at all, then I'm sure he'll be able to give you some updates. But by all means, get in touch with me and my team, again, on that email address down there at hothouse@chi.ac.uk.
Hi, Gareth.
I mean, so many people. Sorry.
So I was just going to say,
yes, Barney, go.
Yeah. So obviously, a lot of the services you're talking about, and potentially the services the other speakers are going to talk about, includes digital services and marketing services. I run a digital marketing business. Claire and I think other people on the call, like Richard, also run digital businesses. Is there any opportunity for us to provide any of these services or involved in any of the programs from a vendor point of view?
There isn't. The delivery of the program has been established for about 3 or 4 years with our delivery partners, and it's all very, very carefully controlled and managed by by government, by MHCLG, and we can't stray out of that to provide these extra services. However, it might be that a business might want, say, a new website. If that new website costs them £5,000, they could potentially apply for a small grant through the Invest4 program and apply for a £2,000 grant towards the costs of getting that new website done, / having a marketing strategy done, having a social media strategy done, or any other sort of digital thing that might help them grow and develop their business. Well, that's a new software platform, moving into e-commerce, all of that side of stuff.
So is there any ability to get on like a provider list or be recommended?
No, there's no provider list for that. It would just be down to the business that's applying for the grant fund. It would just need to show us the quotes that they've had once they've gone through the whole process. And I will stress it is quite a process to get this free money. We don't just give it out, I'm afraid. But if they provide the quotes, they go through the process of applying for the grant and the grant's agreed, then there might be opportunity for businesses like yourselves to be able to supply to that business that has got the grant.
Okay, so it seems a shame there's no connection between obviously local businesses that provide services and the program, at least on a there's a list of businesses sings the show for now.
So, sorry.
I'm going to just, sorry, I'm just going to interject there. I'm very conscious we've got 2 more speakers and lots more questions. And
Yep.
so if it's okay with you, I'm going to move on to Alison so she can present. And then if we've got any more questions at the end, we can hopefully wrap up with those then. So I'm just very conscious of time is galloping away.
No
and your
problem,
10 minutes went in about 30 seconds, Gareth,
Yeah,
as far
it
as I was
does, yeah.
concerned.
Drop me
Alison,
emails with questions, feel free.
brilliant, thanks, Gareth.
I better stop my
Alison,
share as well, hold on. There you go.
are you sharing your screen, Alison?
I'm just going to talk, so
Fine, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to see everyone this morning. I'm the Partnership Manager for the Department for Work and Pensions for the Gatwick Diamond area. And this morning I'm going to talk to you about the government's Kickstart scheme, with the caveat that we're still awaiting a lot of information. So I'll tell you what I know, and I'll take away any questions. So this £2 billion scheme was announced on the 8th of July as part of the government's plan for jobs to generate about 220 opportunities for young people. If anyone remembers the Future Jobs Fund scheme, this scheme is going to be twice as big as that. The Kickstart scheme will fund the direct creation of high quality jobs for young people, and we're expecting to target it at young people with the highest risk of long-term unemployment. And it's going to give them the chance to build their confidence and skills in the workplace and gain experience that will improve their chances of going on to find long-term sustainable work. The bid application and information process is all live now, and it's available through the gov.uk website. It went live yesterday, so this is all hot off the press. We're now calling for employers to bid to be involved with the scheme, and we're hoping that the first job placements will begin in November. The last starts will begin in December 2021, so there's plenty of time to get involved and offer these opportunities. So to be eligible, young people need to be between the ages of 16 and 24 and receiving universal credit. These are 26-week placements, and they must be at least 25 hours every week. For employers, there will be funding available to cover the cost of the relevant national minimum wage for the 25 hours a week, plus the associated employers' national insurance contributions and pension contributions as well. And we're going to be calculating the national minimum wage based on the age of the young person when they leave the scheme, not when they start it. The payment model to employers is expected to be as follows. On confirmation of a job start, the employer will be paid £1,500 to support their overhead costs, for example, payroll and training, induction, etc. For the salary and relevant costs, this will be paid in arrears. The first payment will be made at the end of month 3, so payable in month 4, and the final payment will be made at the end of the placement, so it'll be paid in month 7. There is no expectation that these jobs will be made permanent or become permanent, although they can lead on to apprenticeships. We're looking for high quality placements which will improve the confidence and competence of young people to compete in the wider workplace. So a lot of these young people won't have worked before, they'll have very little work experience, and they will require a lot of support and training and mentoring from their employers. We envisage 200 to 250,000 placements at a rate of 20,000 starts per month. So this is huge across the UK. And this will give the opportunity to employers to access a large pool of young people with potential who are ready for an opportunity and really want that opportunity to do something. And we're going to initially prioritise our young people who are selected by their job centre work coaches, and they will be signposted to your opportunities. And we're very much hoping now that employers are going to come through with opportunities that wouldn't have been advertised otherwise. So to be clear, these jobs should be over and above the normal attrition. They must not replace existing or planned vacancies, and they mustn't cause existing employees or contractors to lose or reduce their hours of work. So an example of this could be where an employer advertises Christmas vacancies every year. So every October they advertise 15 vacancies, but this year they advertise an extra 2. So they're advertising 17 vacancies, and the extra 2 will be for 25 or 26 weeks. So because they're employing an extra 2 vacancies, this would be classed as over above business as usual, and it would fall within the remit of the scheme. The jobs should require minimal training. The idea is to get people trained quickly and actually doing things. And employers will interview the applicants, so you won't be placed with a group of people that you haven't selected. You will be able to interview a pool of people and select the best candidate or candidates for your roles. So there are different rules for large employers and SMEs. So for large employers, and their employers that have 250 plus employees and would be able to offer over this period 30 plus places on the scheme, they will be able to make individual separate bids for themselves. So in the bids, they would detail the opportunities that they have to offer. So they would say, these are the jobs, this is the training we'll provide, this is the support we'll provide, and all that would go onto their application. So we would be expecting as a minimum an induction, coaching, mentoring, and employability support. So putting CVs together, developing teamwork and communication skills, and getting people really ready to be part of a workplace. Most of our employers across the UK, and particularly in Sussex, are SMEs. So SMEs will need to bid for the scheme as part of umbrella organisations or intermediaries. So we're hoping that intermediaries are going to step forward now. So they could be local authorities, voluntary organisations, similar employers, trade bodies, charities, or the chambers of commerce. We're also expecting groups of employers to band together to form consortiums to make their bid as a group. And if they do that, then they'll be able perhaps to share the training costs and work together. For example, there could be 3 employers with 10 vacancies between them. They could bid as an intermediary. Intermediaries could offer placements to administer the Kickstart scheme because they're jobs that wouldn't have existed without this scheme. So bids will be done online, and they will be assessed centrally by our National Employer and Partnership team. Employers can decide to top up the wages if they want to, and I spoke to someone yesterday who was keen to do that, but that's not essential, it's not part of the scheme, but if they want to, they can. They can also decide to extend the hours from the minimum up to full-time hours if that's what they want to do. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. So we have lots of questions ourselves, and we're waiting for full information, but I'm sure you've got questions as well, and I'll do my best to answer, and if I can't answer them, then I'll take them away.
Thank you, Alison.
Thank you.
Who'd like to go first? And is there anybody? Again, I do have a question. Will there be sort of incentive for younger people, maybe those just coming out of college, to actually come and push for this, rather than so they can actually find an opportunity themselves, rather than coming from an employer perspective? So it could be that they're trained in a particular area, can't find a job, but know this scheme and actually make it happen with a potential employer.
That's something I haven't come across, but if the employer wanted to be part of the scheme, but they would need to be able to offer 30 plus opportunities. If a young person comes to us at our job centres, then we will find the most suitable employer for them that meets the sort of thing that they want to do. So we're expecting to have a large pool of employers. So we would either direct the young person to one of our intermediary organisations, and they would signpost them to the right employer, or we would be familiar with the opportunities ourselves and point them in the right direction.
So I'm thinking, are you actually going in at college level to sort of sixth form college level to actually educate people to go and get a job there? Or is it more slightly older than that?
We're concentrating on young people who are on universal credit, so rather than people that are...
Right, okay.
So we don't have many age 16 to 17. In practice, most of them will be 18 plus. But
yeah, I'm thinking 18 plus, yeah.
Yes, there'll be people that have decided not to go to university, or people that for one reason or another haven't started work yet.
Great. Someone had a question and I didn't see. Was it Samantha? Was it you?
Nas.
Oh, Nat. Oh, oh God! Now everyone's got a question now.
There was a quick question, Alison.
Go Nat. Go Nat. There was somebody else.
Quick question, Alison. It's NASA from Business Pulse. I'm not sure if you can answer this, but a number of the redundancies and a number of the layoffs are going to be an age group that aren't in the Kickstart program. Do you know if there's any programs there that are going to help the struggling 24, 30, 40, 45-year-olds out there to try and reskill, redeploy? I totally agree with the Kickstart scheme because of my children's age group, but I think we're going to find an overwhelming number of people in a capacity where they're going to be absolutely no help at all.
We're doing masses to help people. So for anyone that's been made redundant, we have a pool of funding available. So if that person needs to retrain or add something to their skill set to apply for a job, then we're often able to help people with that. So we will either pay for it or point them in the direction of an existing training provider. We're also setting up mini job centres or hubs for all age groups where they'll be able to access the full range of support to identify their transferable skills and look at their CVs and do interview practice. So those older people absolutely haven't been forgotten. This scheme concentrates on the younger people because our stats show that the percentage increase in the number of young people far outweighs those in older age groups. They've been the worst hit, and we know that they're a group that need extra support because it's difficult for them to compete in the workplace because they don't have the same work experience and skills that as the older job seekers they're competing with have. When I say older, any sort of 25 plus. But
yeah, I mean, I think as a DWP, and if you've got any idea of promoting that, because that's new to me, and that's new probably to a lot of people in those age brackets, because that's not being publicised, and I think it's important that that group, like a lot of the funding that was offered, aren't forgotten. Just my personal opinion.
I totally agree with you, Nasta. As you know, I've been unemployed for over 6 months, and I've not heard of that.
Are you in contact with a work coach at the job centre?
No, they haven't been in touch with me since I signed on in March.
Oh, that's such a shame. If you'd like to give me your details and I can put you in touch with someone to have a chat.
That's fine, I'm working now. I just meant that nobody's been in contact with me.
So just to explain that, when COVID hit, the level of claims sort of quadrupled. So it was all hands to the deck and we were just getting claims into payments. So now we're contacting every single person that's made a claim during this period and finding out what support they would like and doing our best to help them. If a company makes redundancies in a large scale, we contact the company and we offer our support via their HR departments. And that's available to absolutely everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alison. Kevin, over to you next.
Claire, thank you so much. And Alison, hello again.
Hello.
Can I also state that I know you are doing a lot of work to go out into the community as well, to actually make the services more accessible. But as with anything, things will slip through, but I'm sure we can learn from any lessons across the board. Just going back to the Kickstart, and I do agree with Nasser's comments about it's not just this area, and I'm a big fan of Kickstart, but I think it's across the board we're finding these issues and everything else. What more is going to be done to promote this to these people? Because I find these people, and there are exceptions, that they need to really be spoon-fed a lot of stuff and a lot of information. And the other thing I would ask is, are the DWP allowed to join any group of employers? Because I know you've taken on a lot of new staff to actually provide those support services, and probably still doing that. And the funding that's available, is it sort of a limit within each area, or do you actually have a national pot you can go to as required up to the limit?
My understanding, Kevin, is that I'm going to struggle to remember all your questions, that it is a national pot. I don't think there's a limit in any one area. DWP, as far as I'm aware, we're not taking part in this, but we're advertising our own jobs, so that will start from Monday, and we're putting on what's called swaps, so it's training academies. So anyone that's unemployed and wants to apply for our vacancies, whatever age they are, they will be offered training to get through the application process. Did you ask me how we're promoting the Kickstart opportunities to young people?
I asked about promoting, and also asked about going out into the community as well.
Okay, so we're promoting, we have young persons advisors, so they will be speaking to all of the young people on their caseloads about the scheme. And we're setting up community hubs, and we do have newsletters. We're hoping to open a little job centre in Burgess Hill, for example. So through all of our partners and the hubs that we're opening, we'll be really promoting these opportunities, because I think they're fantastic for both employers and the young people. Have I answered you?
Over to you.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to go, Ali, thanks for joining us today, actually, because you're new to the role. You've just muted yourself. Ali, that's it. Oh, and for some reason we can't hear you. No, we can't. That's better, I think.
That's better. I'm so sorry. It's dodgy headphones. Thank you very much for allowing me to join up. I work with Kevin Stewart at Sussex, and I've stepped in as an interim economic and regeneration manager. Alison, thank you very much for the presentation, as well as Gareth. The hard to reach communities that Kevin mentioned is going to be an issue, and in some cases it really needs to go out proactively to meet up with the gatekeepers to some of these people, because invariably they do need to be spoon-fed, as Kevin was saying, because invariably they haven't got those parameters to help themselves, as it were. Do you know what I mean? So literally, it is if you come from certain parts of the UK, you've got to meet up with the community leaders, the faith organisations, and the groups, and the relatives, and so forth. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of those things. My question is, with all of these schemes, there's a danger of it becoming so fragmented that it creates a lot of confusion, and confusion marketing then starts ruling. The other thing is, and again, it's just an observation, are we in danger of actually putting the apprenticeship route on the back burner, because that actually gives a little bit more of a route than a 26-week program? So again, that needs to be encouraged, because a lot of the employers they tend to shy away from that because they don't understand the process and the maze that they've got to walk through.
Okay, this absolutely isn't intended to replace apprenticeships. Apprenticeships are a fantastic routeway into really good, proper jobs, which is what we want. I would advise any employer that's interested in offering an apprenticeship to contact our apprenticeship site via gov.uk or us or one of their colleges for advice. With regard to outreach, we're really doing our best to get in touch with all of the communities. So, for example, in Crawley, we're opening a BAME hub specifically for people that don't want to be seen coming into a job centre, and for us to reach those communities. We're also looking at areas where we've identified pockets of deprivation and trying to do outreach there. At the moment, we're quite restricted because of the distancing and the health and safety of our people, but it's something that we're keen to do, and we're looking at across all of our job centres, and we're working really closely with all of our local authorities, including Mid Sussex, who've been fantastic, and they're helping us to identify those areas. We also have local partnership meetings for different groups that support vulnerable people. And we will be asking them to help us to spread the word of all these schemes. So we have those at the moment every month in most of our areas.
Thank you.
Alison. Right, I'm being mindful of the time. We still have one more presenter to go. So I'm going to hand over straight away to Alison from Coast to Capital, who will take the next 10 minutes. So Carolyn.
Good morning, everybody. Right, I will get straight on here. Yes, I'm currently working as a growth advisor within the Coast to Capital Growth Hub. Although in the sort of invitation to this meeting, grants are mentioned, which I will talk about, I'd like to stress that the Growth Hub is not just about grants. There's a lot else that it does as well. So what is the Growth Hub? It's designed, it's not for startups. That's why it's so wonderful to have heard this morning all about the Hothouse program, because we refer a lot of our potential clients through to the Hothouse program, because the Growth Hub is there for companies who are established and wanting to grow, basically. And we do this in a number of different ways. We have lots of one-to-one advice in different ways. So, for example, if you engage with us, you will be allocated a growth advisor who will sort of talk through your needs, what your aspirations are, what your challenges are. And then we have a whole range of different levels of support, from an hour-long one-to-one support clinic, which might, I mean, all through the COVID situation, they've been doing lots of those about business recovery, HR issues, all sorts of topics, and finance and so on, and that we have various specialists we can pull in to run those. So those are on offer. We also have, for more in-depth assistance for some of the clients that engage with us on a longer term, we have a network of people called Growth Champions, who again are specialists. They usually run their own businesses. They might be finance, they might be innovation, digital, etc. And we have a network of about 35 of these people. And if a company's really got a program of looking to grow and a strategy and a business plan, we can fund a day of support from one of these people to just help kickstart, a particular aspect of their business and get them to the next level. Needless to say, because of the type of organisation we are, we also signpost people out to all sorts of specialist help, everything from the Innovation Centre, Knowledge Transfer Network, Chambers, Innovate UK, all sorts of, we're like, I always think of it as like a spider's web, where you're trying to help people find their way through the roots, through the spider's web, to find the assistance they need. And we're just currently recruiting for an exciting new program called the Peer Network Program. This was run a year or so ago locally by Coast to Capital as called an escalator program. It's now part of a national program which has just recently been launched. And the idea is that you meet in groups, they call them cohorts these days, on a regular basis every month or something for a period of about 5 or 6 months. And in a small group of like-minded businesses, you're able to, in complete confidence, talk through your business issues with a facilitator. I'm a huge fan of these things. I think it's absolutely great to get together with other businesses because, more heads are better than one. It's designed for companies that have been established for at least a year, who have a minimum of 5 employees and a minimum of about 100,000 turnover. So anything upwards from that, and are looking and have the potential to scale up their businesses. So we're recruiting for that currently. And I'll talk at the end about the website, because there's lots of information on the front page of the Growth Hub website about that and about other things. So there's lots and lots of advice, as I say, from everything from an hour up to a longer term program. And the growth advisors themselves, of which I'm one currently, I'm working for them currently as a freelance because they're recruiting for some new people, will kind of guide you through all this and help you, keep in contact with you on a regular basis and guide you to the most suitable information and advice you need. And that, as I say, sometimes is outside the Growth Hub as well. My background's in international trade, so if there's ever an export element to it, I will refer people into the Department for International Trade Network in the area, so that they can talk to to somebody there, for example. So that's kind of all the one-to-one advice. And we have a helpline. You can go onto the Coast to Capital Growth Hub website. I put that in the chat, the address of that. There's a telephone number which is inundated at the moment, but they have a voicemail, and there also is an inquiry form that people can fill in, and then someone will get back to them. So that's the route into the Growth Hub. Coming to grants and funding, literally this week, the Growth Hub has launched its new business recovery grant. Last year they had something similar, which was called a growth grant. This year it's been labelled as a business recovery grant. There's a funding pot of just over £2 million, but we've had a lot of interest already. It's designed for capital expenditure projects, and it is on a matched funded basis, 50-50. The minimum grant is £10,000, so you're looking at a minimum project spend of 20,000, and it goes right up to 170,000. So this will be some major projects, probably for larger companies. There are two slightly different processes depending on the size of the grant. So the period of delivery is from now till the end of March. So it's quite a limited time really, because there's lots of due diligence to go through. There's two stages for the process. There's an expression of interest form, which is on the there's a landing page for that, which I'll put in the chat at the end. And then that leads to an application form, and there's also a document explaining in a flowchart what the process is. There's lots of sifting, scoring, and everything that has to be done. And then there's a second stage of application, which will be more elaborate for the bigger grants. That will be some kind of panel, and the smaller grants will be a slightly simpler process. You have to be an SME, you can be a social enterprise or a charity. It says here, I've just had the criteria, it's open to all sectors, but the real priority sectors are hospitality, travel and tourism, sports and leisure, entertainment and arts, food and drink, retail and wholesale, aviation and supply chain, advanced engineering and manufacturing, horticulture and viticulture, and health and life sciences. So as you'll see, it's actually quite broad, and it's not excluding anything, but those are their priority sectors of where they see that there's a need for to enable companies to grow. They must be based in the Coastal Capital area, and you need a clean company's house or equivalent record, i.e. no disqualified directors. And the focus is on recovery and growth, diversity, job creation, job retention, and social value. So it's really quite a broad church of what it's about. But it's something that if a company is going to apply, you need to kind of think the whole thing through. It requires care and attention to detail on the application process, reading it all through, checking that you fulfill the criteria, and then following the application process. And there will be a gap in time between filling in an application form and hearing anything, because this is a massive task of sifting, sorting, and ensuring that the right companies get the funding. But a very worthwhile capital expenditure grant fund. And I'll put up the link in a moment so you can see there's an actual landing page on Coastal Capital specifically for this grant. The other grant that's coming through, which is due in a couple of weeks, we think it's going to be launched around about the 14th of September. It's funded by the EU through the ERDF. And this has been announced, it was announced a while ago actually, before even the detail was known. There were lots of headlines, and you can find it on gov.uk where it says new £20 million boost for small businesses and so forth. There's a lot of publicity about it. It's not a very big pot for our area. I think the pot total is 250,000. We're waiting for all the details to come through. It's a 100% grant, and there's going to be a general SME pot, and there's some of it especially for anything related to the tourism industry. It says on the government website that the grants are between 1,000 and 5,000, but my understanding since then is it's mostly going to be between 1,000 and 3,000, and in exceptional cases it might be as much as 5,000. But I would say like another grant that came through some time ago called the Backing Business Fund, this is going to be mega oversubscribed. It really is. So just to manage people's expectations, oh good, there's another grant, I'll apply and we'll get it. It's horrible. It's horrible when we have to hear of companies who don't get these things, because obviously they're all desperate to get any help they can. But this is going to be a very, very heavily oversubscribed grant. The 20 million is for the whole country, and some areas are getting more than we're getting. So, it's not a huge pot. And I think it might be 10 million pounds separately for the tourism industry, but it's still, it sounds a lot of money, but it's not really when you whittle it down to the number of companies who could be eligible. So it's designed to use for things like new equipment, technology, and specialist advice. That's kind of what it. But we're waiting. We will have it on our website, and it'll be promoted through all sorts of media as soon as we know. But it's looking like being around about the 14th of September by the time it's actually opened. So that's the small grant. But the business recovery grant, which is the big one, which is open now. As I say, I'll put the landing page details on the chat, and if anybody's got any questions, you're welcome to ask me, or within or outside of this meeting. I think that's probably hopefully I've kept to time.
That was exactly 10 minutes.
Excellent.
Oh, I'm going to go straight over to Richard Harms, because he's put his hand up for the first question.
Okay.
Hi everyone. So this is a general question to the three of you here. I'm a startup business who sort of established my business probably in early April, so obviously prior to lockdown and things. In terms of grants and support and things like that, where do I fall into each of these different categories? Because if I'm honest with you, I'm slightly confused, because I'm an established business in terms of the funding. I'm not classified as a startup because it's already set up. So where would I fall in terms of applying for either government or Hothouse or Coast to Coast Capital funding to support me as a growing or in growth stage business?
I think it depends what you're wanting money to do.
Well, I'm a media agency. Yeah, so I mean, I'm a media agency, so I provide full marketing services to a range of companies. So one, it would probably be for giving me support for marketing my own business. Two, for secondly, also purchasing potentially some hardware and things like that.
I think you're probably going to be more lucky on the second of those. I'm not terribly sure that some of this funding would just allow you to market your own business, because I would imagine that you'd be expected to kind of do that yourself. But for hardware,
well,
this new small.
With a lot of these, this is the issue I think with a lot of these government sort of grants and supports and things, is I think there's a lot of I thinks going on with these, rather than getting a lot of clarity. For me as a small business owner who's trying to grow, where do I sit? And I think that's where we need to get the clarity from governments, from councils, from these schemes in particular that are going to support me or going to support other businesses, as to what I can do to help me grow, and how I can then support other businesses. So, but I think Barney asked a great question earlier on as well about, as a local business, how can I get involved with these schemes? How can I get involved? If it's the Hothouse, for example, if I'm a local business who you guys are recommending to, are you actually working with companies who are based in London, for example, rather than localized Sussex businesses? So there's a lot of grey area here, I think, which needs a lot more clarity over things.
Richard, if I could come in here and explain that the Business Hothouse programme supports most businesses in the Coast to Capital region, and our grant programme is match funded 60% to 40%. We'll work with early stage businesses such as yours, and it can support marketing and it can support capital investment if you were buying a new computer, that sort of thing. I'm not guaranteeing you get the funding, it is an application process. It is a rigorous process. Due diligence is carried out. You will need business plans and things as well for that, including comprehensive cash flow forecasts, demonstration that there's a market for what you're doing as well, because we can't just give out taxpayers' money to things that might not look like they'll work out. So we can cover a whole range of different funding. I believe a lot of the Coast Capital stuff is based around capital investment. We can look at revenue funding as well. So for example, if you wanted to get a new website built, obviously you can't do it yourself, you need to contract out. If you wanted to engage a consultant to develop you a marketing strategy, we can look potentially at funding that. If you wanted to look at developing your skills by going on some sort of a course to develop your skill set, we could potentially look at funding for that as well, all wrapped up in a growth project for your business. So through the Hothouse, there is potential that we can support you on the grant funding side of it all, and potentially through some of our one-to-one support that Sussex Innovation Centre are providing around growth and innovation and productivity development. So that's probably the best route I would have thought at the moment to go through. I'm sure Carolyn will probably agree from her understanding of what's available.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, I think we and the other thing is, I know it's the business support environment has always been complicated and always will be, because there are lots of players, there's lots of different local pots of money, some of it comes from Europe. It's never going to be simple. I've worked in business support for over 20 years. It will never be simple, but the key is, if you come into one of our organisations, if you contact the Growth Hub, if you contact the Hothouse, we all are very interconnected, and we make referrals on a daily basis to the Hothouse programme. It's absolutely brilliant to be able to signpost people there who are early stages, because it's got such a wonderful range of support. The Growth Hub is kind of like the next stage up in a sense, because it's and all these government things, they never have huge marketing budgets to promote themselves. So people say, who's Coast to Capital Growth Hub? You know, years ago it was called Business Link, but it was slightly in a different form. But you know, it's a lot, some of you may remember that, but these things come and go with different governments, and you know what's available in the way of funding and what the focus is. They'll always be complicated slightly. So, but we know what we're doing, and you find one of us, you will find all of us.
And I think that all the COVID funding that's come out from central government has just really complicated it all. Yeah. It's along the lines of things like they are offering their grant funding on a very simplified basis, where you hardly have to prove anything, do any due diligence or anything like that. And a lot of applicants to our fund, they're expecting us almost just to do bank transfers to them, because they've gone, I need some money. We're governed by hundreds and hundreds of pages of EU regulations on our business support programme. So it does make things a bit more complex in applying for the funding. But ultimately,
I mean, the problem with that is that the majority of those are probably for established businesses again, you know, rather than actual sort of startups, I would imagine. Like,
not through the Hothouse, Richard. We can support startups, early stage entrepreneurs.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to have to jump in there, because I see that we're coming up to 10 o'clock. We have covered so much ground this morning. My head's spinning a little, actually, with the amount of information that it has received. I think there's some clarity, though, from coming here today, because I've got a lot, even though it's complicated, I feel there's a lot more clarity. And I think that's where the HHBA can help, is try and get the information from you guys out. And also, I think as individuals, I feel a responsibility to pass this on to other people that I meet, that I know that there's help out there for businesses, startups, employers, employees, and all this sort of stuff. So I think it's about sharing this information. And Richard, and I'm hoping that through our social media, we can get some of these links out, which I think are really important through our social media. I'm glad you came along to this, because Richard helps us with the HHBA social media, so he can help communicate what you're doing to our membership as well. Thanks so much for coming today. You've got connections with these people, you've got their email addresses. I'm going to be emailing Gareth at some point. So thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming. And the next meeting, I think, is going to be early October. So keep an eye out for that one. But thank you very much for coming along today, guys. Lovely to see you all. Thank you.